Hi everyone, welcome to another week of notes for government class. Last week we did the Bill of Rights notes. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the judicial branch, where the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and Declaration of Independence sit. With the judicial branch, this is one of the three branches of our government. We get this from Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States. In there it says it guarantees that every person accused of wrongdoing has the right to a fair trial before a competent judge and a jury of one's peers. The judicial branch is really important because it gives us a Bill of Rights and so many rights that we have as American citizens. Within the Bill of Rights, we also have three major terms. Those three terms include which are the ones on the screen. Dual courts is the first one. We have a state court and a federal court, and every state has this and is set up this way, as well as original jurisdiction. So that's going to be, where does your case go first when you get punished with something? As well as appellate jurisdiction, which just means that if you choose to go on trial again, you do have the right to appeal your case if you don't like how it turned out. This happens quite a bit. Look at right now. I'm filming this right now as they're counting ballots in many states. And some of our candidates might not agree with the decision, and they have the right to appeal that if it's within the recounting window. Within the judicial branches, there are very important Supreme Court. This is a picture of what the Supreme Court looked like about 5 months ago. As many of you know, or at least saw in the news, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she passed away. She's still in that photo. And then Brett Kavanaugh was also added, who's in that photo as well. I have to add the newest photo of the Supreme Court, but it hasn't been put out yet. And I wonder if that's because of COVID or because Amy Coney Barrett just got elected into the Supreme Court. There's probably a whole reasons as to why. So what does the United States Supreme Court do, and who are they, and why are they so important? So let's start looking at that. The United States Supreme Court, those justices, there's 9 of them. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says they have to have 9, but it's nice to have 9 because then you have an odd number. They're chosen by the president. The president gets hundreds of people that are recommended to him to be on the Supreme Court, and that's who they're chosen by. President Trump had 3 choices while he was in office for 4 years. That's a lot. Some presidents don't ever get that option. Once then the president chooses you, you have to be approved by the Senate. So they're going to look into your background, they're going to dig, see if there's anything bad that might not make you a good judge. After that, there has to be a vacancy. And like I said, not every president gets the opportunity to choose a Supreme Court justice. And vacancies are only given by either retirement, death, or if they choose to leave. Once you have that position on the Supreme Court, you have it for life. The Chief Justice, who's just kind of in charge of all the Supreme Court justices, he just gets paid a little bit more. It's just a title that they're given. That's John G. Roberts. That's his picture right there. He was appointed in 2005. You guys just kind of want to know on average how much they make. John Roberts makes about $217,000, and the other justices are just above $200,000. Like I said, the Constitution does not state the size of the Supreme Court. That was just kind of where we're at right now with 9 justices, and 9 justices was set in 1869, so it's been a long time that we've had 9 justices on the court. But before that, it was only 6, which is kind of crazy to think. Just some requirements to be a justice, which is kind of crazy. There's no constitutional age or professional requirements. Most of them have been judges in the past, but some of them might have only been lawyers. All have legal training, and most have served a federal judge, but there is no requirements. Donald Trump could have put anyone up on the stand if he wanted to. But all the people that have been picked and chosen to be on the Supreme Court have had some sort of legal training or judicial training. Their term length is life, like I said. They can be impeached by Congress if something were to happen or if something came out of, their background check or something. That can happen. Selecting a case. This is just all the Supreme Court justices get to choose what cases they're going to look at every year. It's not required, but they serve as appeals of the court to the United States Constitution if it's charged. There's big cases that get pushed and people want the Supreme Court to see them. One of the big ones, for example, is gay marriage. That case, it was state by state for a long time where states could choose who you could marry. And then eventually the Supreme Court one day decided to take up the case, and they ended up ruling in favor of gay marriage. So it just depends. Abortion, people always try to get abortion pushed up to the Supreme Court. Death penalty, Those are all extremely controversial topics. I would be very surprised even if we see any of those topics get to the Supreme Court, along with even like marijuana within the next few years. We're going to kind of move in and shift gears now to some key cases. All of these cases are in some of your homework assignments, but I just want to go over them all because you are going to see these pop up again before the end of the unit. Hazelwood versus Kilmer. This is when if a principal can censor a school newspaper. A lot of these cases are looking at the First Amendment, and it's always yes. Like a principal can always censor a school newspaper if it harms anything to the education or into the building or that of the students. Mapp versus Ohio, can evidence be used if it's acquired illegally? And that answer is no, especially even in school. Like if you're going to be illegally taping someone or tapping their phones, you can't use it in a court case. Marbury versus Madison, can courts overturn decisions from other branches? So that would be from like the legislative branch to the judicial branch. And the answer is yes. That would be called judicial review, and this happens, and it can happen, where certain branches of our government make decisions and other people are looking at it and think it should be overturned. Tinker versus Des Moines. Can students have free speech? Yeah, you can to some extent, and we kind of talked about that in class when we were going over the Bill of Rights. You can have free speech, but according to this case, they decided it can interfere with school safety or education, which makes sense. McCullough versus Maryland. Limits on Congress. And remember, Congress is our House of Representatives and our Senate combined. They really don't have many limits, and whatever laws they want to put in place, and as long as they see them as necessary and proper, they can do it. A few more. Miranda versus Arizona. That's those Miranda rights. That's in that 5th Bill of Rights. We had talked about that last week. You have the right to remain silent. Those are rights that are read to you when you ever get arrested or in trouble with the law. The last key case that I want you guys to look at is just New Jersey versus TLO. TLO is the name of the student. This one comes up all the time when we were in person, and we would have huge discussions just because you can kind of read everyone a little bit better when you're in person, just about when you're 18. Can schools search your stuff without a warrant? If you're under 18, you are a juvenile, and they can. And that even if you are 18 in the building, they still need reasonable suspicion. 2 more slides and then we're done. Here's just some other key cases. I'm not going to go through all of them with you. They're just cases that kind of have looked at civil rights, rights of the accused. You can kind of pause here and read over them. And then here's one more slide about students' rights versus early cases. So these are all the cases that I just kind of talked to you about, but they're all kind of broken up into different categories. So on this one, we have students' rights, early cases, and then on the other slide was civil rights and rights of the accused. Well, you guys take it easy. I will see you virtually in class and talk to you soon.